Identity refers to who we think we are as individuals and members of social groups, as well as what others think of us. It is built through our interactions with the environment and with other people, such as family, friends, educational institutions, and the media. This process of construction is continuous and takes place in the social context, since identity is not something fixed or given, but a permanent construction influenced by our environment and our relationships. Identity not only reflects our social, psychological, or cultural characteristics, but is a means to exist and situate ourselves in a social environment, defining how we interpret reality and our actions.
There is a direct connection between our identity and the recognition we receive, since the way an individual learns about themselves relates to the way they are being recognized by others, although it becomes a problem when there's a misrecognition. There are things such as actors and structural conditions that influence someone's identity. For example, family bonds, which help us shape our values and beliefs. Culture and society form our views on relationships and provides us with framework for making decisions based on our own experiences. Education is important as it teaches us new skills and invaluable lessons that will help us transform into our future selves. Economic structures have to do with our social status and our opportunities. Social norms around gender, race, and sexuality define our identity expression, and political ideologies and laws affect our attitude and behavior.
There are a lot of vulnerable groups who have been affected by cultural misrepresentations throughout history. One of the most important ones, and one of the ones we get to coexist with them here in this country, are indigenous community. Indigenous community in Mexico have been affected by this false recognition because of various reasons.
Stereotyping and misrepresentation have severely impacted indigenous people who are often misrepresented in media and public discourses, despite us uneducated and stuck in the past. Those stereotypes contribute to social exclusion and fail to reflect the true diversity and moral role in the indigenous communities. A 2021 survey by INPI found that over 60% of indigenous people felt negatively portrayed in the media, reinforcing harmful stereotypes. Cultural erasure and assimilation. Historical policies of assimilation have eroded indigenous cultures, promoting a mestizo identity in the expense of indigenous language and tradition. This cultural erasure is evident in the sharp decline in indigenous language speakers, dropping from 60% of the population in 1930 to just 6.1% in 2020. That, according to INEGI. These policies have pressured indigenous communities to abandon their heritage in favor of homogenized national identity. Cultural appropriation and misuse. Indigenous symbols and traditions are often appropriated by mainstream culture, particularly in fashion and tourist industries. This appropriation strips cultural elements of significance and perpetuates a distorted commercial image of indigenous identity. A 2019 study by the National Institute of Anthropology and History revealed that 80% of the indigenous communities had experienced cultural appropriation, showing the widespread and damage of effects in this practice.
Consequences of false recognition in indigenous communities include, first of all, lack of education, that it's a constant discrimination that has led to an alarming increase of people of this group not finishing more than middle high school level studies. Media misrepresentation, as previously mentioned by my teammate, 80% of indigenous communities feel misrepresented, causing a false impression on the public, reinforcing harmful stereotypes. Reinforcement of harmful stereotypes in the education system. As indigenous cultures have been constantly represented as savages and uneducated people in the teaching of history, reinforcing a stereotype which leads to discrimination of a greater scale. And finally, cultural loss. Due to discrimination, there has been a loss of cultural diversity, and discrimination due to language has been one of the big problems that have led to an increasing lack of interest in learning indigenous languages, leading also to a loss of cultural diversity.
Finally, how can we eradicate this problem? The first step is to further address ignorance. By educating society, we can raise awareness of the shocking situation faced by these marginalized people and emphasize how important and transcendent their culture is. We need to normalize their culture so that we no longer see them as an external part of our society. We should support these individuals by adapting our systems to help preserve their language, as language is a vital part of their culture that is in risk of disappearing. For instance, incorporating their language into medical assisting systems could be one way to help maintain their cultural heritage.